It's Hoge Jahns.
Well, welcome in. Here we are. That's the bad scenario that we talked about going into this game. Were they going to fight? Were they going to show signs of improvement, Johnsy? Or were they just going to get
They showed a whole bunch of nothing, Adam Hoge.
Yes.
One of the worst games I have covering this team in 12 plus years. This is post-bye week, blown out by the Packers, 55-14 bad from Mark Trestman's second season in 2014. This is how bad it feels.
Yep.
That locker room is in a bad place, man. It's tough. This is tough.
So that's where my brain went to. That's where my brain went midweek. I was saying that, like, is this, I could not wait to see the response. And it was either going to be good, even if they lost, it could have been good. They could have put on a tough performance against the Chiefs, or it was going to be what I consider, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, Johns, especially because you were in that locker room. You got the sense after the game, being there in Kansas City, kind of a level of panic, spiraling out of control is something that I personally am worried about right now. What did you sense being there? Do you sense a team that can come back and win these next couple weeks, or a team where this is just going the wrong direction?
No, I don't know where the signs are for such a scenario to play out, like the positive signs. Like at least last year when the Bears were losing a bunch of ball games, you had Justin Fields playing well. Now with better receivers, a rookie right tackle selected with the 10th overall pick, it's even worse for Fields. Like this is not a good thing going for Justin Fields. And I think that kind of carries over into other facets of the game. It's not all on Fields, but this team is bad, Adam. This team is bad. The offense is bad. The quarterback is bad. The defense might be the worst in the league. It's all bad right now. So you're searching for positives that I don't think even exist. Players are getting hurt left and right. Tremaine Edmonds left the game for a reason that's still undisclosed. Like, what happened there? It's a player you paid a lot to be the middle linebacker in your defense. It's all bad right now. I don't know what a positive. There's no positive that exists with this team right now.
So that's something I want to ask you about. Were you in Flus's press conference?
I was.
Okay, so did he try to point to some positives? Based on some notes I saw, that it was like, yeah, the first defensive drive was cool. Yippee! or like, what? You take me. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Okay, you gotta. That was the question. I forget who asked it, but he was asked if there's positives and if there's any at all. And sometimes you want to hear what the head coach has to say, but he's grasping at straws right now. There are no positives. There's none. None at all. What could be a potential positive out of this outing? Name one thing. Adam John's going to get some barbecue later. That's a positive for me.
I mean, I'm jealous. I would get on a flight right now and come eat some barbecue. That sounds great.
Come on down.
I had a nice catfish po' boy from Crossroads in the middle of the game. That was solid. That was good. But no, I don't know what to point to as a positive. I mean, there's nothing. There's no pressure.
They can't get off the field.
Everybody's hurt on the entire secondary's hurt now. Everybody. That was supposed to be the strength of the defense. And it's just they're all hurt now. Tremaine Edmonds might be hurt.
Can I read you something from DeMarcus Walker?
Is that confirmation that he played today?
He did play today.
Okay.
So he called this a reality check for the Bears. That's DeMarcus Walker. Then he had this quote, where it is, like, what's missing? The biggest thing is chemistry now. There's only so much you could do. There's only so many reps, so many plays you could have before a game. Now it's about everybody being on one page. Chemistry, in my opinion, and I feel like that's the last thing we got to do. How do you build that chemistry? Coaches trust players. Players trust the coaches, Walker said, but it's got to be 50-50. It can't be 60-40, 70-30. Everyone has to be on the same page. I have this in my column. There's not even the same book, Adam. Forget
Okay,
this.
so
Page.
that
There's
is a
for the Bears to be included in here.
yeah. That is a get me wrong, but that sounds like the complete opposite of the head coach trying to say that they got a tight knit locker room, that everybody's on the same page. Did you see Ian Rappaport's report this morning?
Those types of reports come out after weeks like this, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Like,
well, you know what I'm saying? Like that this galvanized the locker room, that there was nothing but positive energy coming out after everything.
Ruined the locker room. Like, man, like on Friday, like, we're making fun of like the Bears having their lawnmower stolen and everything. Like it's funny to kid around about, because it was such a bad week. It's good to have a sense of humor about such things, but players were laughing about it too. I don't know if that's such a good sign, right? Like, I guess this is my concern in all this, Adam Hoge, is you and I have covered shit shows like this before. Is that too much?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I can't believe I even said that. Like a dumpster fire like this before. We know it could get worse. Like, I don't mean to be too rough there, but like I think that's what's sticking with me is that we've covered this before, and it's almost exhausting in a sense. I can't even fathom how fans are feeling because everybody's been through this before. We've seen teams blow up quickly. We've seen teams have success with a quarterback, then blow up a year later. Like, we've been down this road before. This feels worse than an 0-3 record right now.
Well, and I literally tweeted that in the middle of the game, Johns, which is if there's anything I've learned over the years covering this team, yes, it can get worse. Like, there's been many times where you think they're at rock bottom and they're not. That's what's always concerning. Because this right here should
lead
be
in my column.
bottom.
And I don't mean that, I shouldn't have said that. I take that back a bit using the S word like that, but we've covered this before.
I
feel bad. The B man. I want the B man back in the voicemail line.
But this was a blank show today. You were just being accurate. I don't know what else you call this. This whole week, quite frankly, has been exactly
I'm trying to be
that.
professional again.
I know.
I think what bothers me it's that like lingering feeling of like, here we go again. We've covered how many coaches, how many GMs, how many quarterbacks, and like there was such optimism coming into this season, and there are zero reasons for optimism right now.
So let me ask you a question that we led CHGO with because I want to hear your take to it. The one difference right now compared to all the other blank shows that we've covered is that Kevin Warren is there. If you're Kevin Warren, what do you do? Do you do anything? Are you having a meeting tomorrow at Hallis Hall saying, yo, yes, it's only 3 games, but that means we have 14 to figure out what the hell to do at quarterback. So what the hell is the plan here and who's going to actually fix it? Like what can you do? I mean, that's part of that question I was struggling to answer earlier because it feels too early to fire people. You already lost your defensive coordinator. But why the hell should anyone believe the results are going to be any different just because you're playing the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, gave up 70 points today?
and who just happened to be a 2.5-point favorite.
They're still favored against. They gave up 70 points, and they're favored in your house. Think about that.
Not good. Not good. Truthfully, I don't know what Kevin Warren's going to do. He's never been in this position before. He has a ton of NFL experience, but he's never been the president of a football team. This is his first year doing it. So I have no idea. It's kind of like the great unknown right now. Yeah, he made a bunch of deals with the Big Ten. Yes, he built a beautiful stadium for the Vikings. I have no idea what he's going to do with the Chicago Bears because this is all new for him. I'm sure he has no idea what he's going to do with the Chicago Bears. Like, what do you do? Where are the answers? There's 14 games left, Adam Hoge. 14.
So do you buy this the Lions were 1-6 stuff? Because I saw Justin reference that in his post game. Because I can shoot back right away. Their first 4 games last year were all 1-score games. And they won one of them. They were 1-3. And they were all, and by the way, they were scoring in the 30s. So they had an offense. And they were all 1-score games. Now, they then went through sort of a weird stretch where they got blanked by the Patriots, and then I think they only scored 6 points the week after that. I'd have to go back and look at the context of that. I seem to remember them being banged up. I know they ended up trading Hawkinson at some point in there. But just the fact that their first 4 games, they were all 1-score games. They were scoring a lot of points. Like, to me, that just feels like that's a different. I don't know that anybody was sitting there after 4 games going, this team's worse than the team they had last year, because that's what the reality is here with the Bears. This team looks worse.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the conversation at that point was, oh, the Lions, you were bringing this up. The Lions might be sneakily competitive. I have no reason to think the Bears might be sneakily competitive right now.
Yes. Yeah.
They've lost to Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, that's not surprising. But Jordan Love should not have done what he did in week 1. Baker Mayfield should not be posting a passer rating of 114.5 against you. Just shouldn't be doing it. Not with what he's on his third team, fourth team now.
And did Patrick Mahomes break a sweat today?
No, I don't know.
Did anyone touch him? Well, I guess he did get rolled up on that one. If that's was that the only time they touched him all game?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they chase him out of the sidelines pretty well. I'm looking back at this stat here. Hold on. Let me pull this up because I took a picture of it because the real-time stats move so fast, especially when you're playing Patrick Mahomes. So when the Bears were down 21-0, like games kind of getting out of hand a little bit here. There was a couple of turnovers about to happen.
Like, it would have been like early second quarter?
No, 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
Okay.
Justin Fields was 2 for 4 for 29 yards. 2 sacks. Interception was coming. Like, what they're doing offensively is just not working. It's not. I know the Chiefs are good. Like, their defense is really good, but this was not. And we were looking for what a less robotic, free playing Justin Fields to look like. If this is what it was, this was not good. It's not good.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of what I saw today offensively. It was almost like my first reaction is I didn't come away thinking that like this was Fields' fault. But the whole thing just looks like it's, maybe this is too harsh, but it just doesn't look like it's an NFL offense.
No.
This looked like a varsity versus JV game.
Ouch.
It really did, though. I'm not trying to be mean. Like, that's what it looked like from the kickoff. It looked like one team did not belong on the field with the other.
I think it was Antonio who just asked on the chat here if this is rock bottom, and I'm sorry to tell you, Antonio, it's probably not.
But how are we here again already?
I don't know.
And I'm being honest. So I'm going to be serious for a second. If I'm Kevin Warren, now I'm answering my own question from a few minutes ago. I would, and this doesn't have to involve, well, it's someone that has to involve polls, but I would at least be getting a room with, who's the owner of the team? George McCaskey. I'm trying to think of the committee. Who was the
for it.
committee? It was Tanisha Wade. Soup, who's not even there anymore. Soup, remember?
Soup Campbell.
Wow. I'm having like a yes, remember a third of the committee that hired Ryan Poles was then fired by Ryan Poles. Remember that whole thing? Because was there more than 3? I'm forgetting. This is off the top of my head. But where I'm going with this is if I'm Kevin Warren, I want to talk to those people and I want to know how Mike McDaniel was not interviewed. You want to interview the guy and then go in a different direction? Fine. But before this game kicked off today, the Dolphins hung 70 on the Broncos with a young quarterback. And it pains me because, and yes, I'm biased in this because I've been talking about Mike McDaniel since before, like when he was on the 49ers. And some of it was playful because I'm like, this guy's great. I just want him to be the head coach selfishly for the press conferences. But now that you see what this guy can do, what he could have done with Justin Fields, and maybe it wouldn't have worked out, but at least we would have known. Like it just sucks. I don't know how else to put it. Like if you're Kevin Warren, I want to know how the hiring thing went down and how they got to here so that mistakes are not repeated.
Well, then you might have to give Bill Polian a phone call because he was running the entire search.
Yeah, well, that too. Yep. Oh God,
it's part of the problem, man. And we've Ernie Accorsi before that. Like we've been down this road so many times, and there seems to be no exit. The thing that sticks with me, Adam, is there's still 14 games left, and yes, sure, things can be a bit better. After that 55-14 loss against the Packers 2014, the Bears actually won 2 games in a row. But we knew what they were at that point.
Yes.
All right. So I do understand what DeMarcus Walker is saying in terms of building chemistry. I understand what Mehdi Eberflus is saying in terms of having a young team, 30-something new players to bring together, right? I understand that.
New?
But it shouldn't look this bad. It shouldn't be this bad. Like, it's not surprising you lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but not this bad.
I don't even necessarily care about the final score and how bad it looked. I care about what I just said a few minutes ago. This game was over in like 5 minutes. And it was exactly what you feared. Like they shouldn't have gotten on the plane to go there. It was over. They didn't belong on the same field. There was no stat in the NFL that was more false than the Chiefs and the Bears coming into this game today, averaging the same amount of points. Because anybody with eyes could have told you that this was going to happen today.
There's a visual from the game that's going to stick with me for a bit. It's the Bears are about to score their one and only touchdown, right? Late in the game, Fields to DJ Moore. And I look at the sideline, and like almost every single player is sitting down. Where the defense sits, that bench, which you rarely see is full, is overloaded with players. I took a picture of it. That stuck with me. Like, that is something Mehdi Eberflus is going to have to sort out, and that is something that Ryan Poles should judge his head coach by. And it's probably something that Kevin Warren should judge his GM and then head coach by. Like, that visual was... It's tough. It's tough.
Did you tweet that?
Not yet.
Okay. And just wondering because I brought this up at some point last week. My mind's all mixed together now, but that reminds me of in 14 when we were at Lambeau and the Bears were in the midst of getting 50 put on them. And I looked down at the sideline with my binoculars, and it was still the second quarter. It was before halftime. And there wasn't a single person on that sideline within 15 feet of Mark Trestman. Because they were all literally trying to get away from him so they didn't get caught on television. Because they knew the camera was on them. Like, that's the type of stuff here that's startling. I don't like hearing that Everybody's sitting down. How much time's left in the game at that point? You said it was right before the touchdown?
Yeah. So I understand the
Yeah.
emotions and stuff, but I understand the game situation and just how it's over. So they scored that touchdown with what? 4:20 left in the game. Just stood out to me. Something to think about.
Yeah, but I realize this isn't high school football, but I imagine that the conversations on the sideline were still, let's have some pride. Let's finish. You know, that reminds me right before halftime. You remember the touchdown that got called back because of one of Javon Taylor's misalignments where he's in the backfield. You tell me from the press box what you saw, but that guy was I'm forgetting who it was. Whoever caught that ball that was like jogging into the end zone and showing off, and then he put it down right by the pylon. I didn't think Elijah Hicks was coming after him hard enough. Like
he was loafing.
He was essentially mocking you as he went into the end zone. And that, I'm not saying you take a late dirty hit on the guy, but if you run, you can make it a play at the pylon and give yourself a completely legal hit at the guy. And I was just like, where's the pride here? Like, this guy is mocking you going into the end zone, and you're late getting over there.
How crazy is it to have pride being a conversation point after 3 weeks already? Right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Like,
yeah,
seriously,
no.
like,
Yeah.
like, kind of blew your mind a bit there. Like, having
No,
a
I
sense
know.
of pride in who you are and how you play is now a conversation point 3 weeks into this season. That
It's
Adam Hogue is a problem.
well, look, and that's the part that has me thinking two things. One is I should know better. But two is that's a scenario I did not see coming, even though I should know better. You could have told me they were 0-3. That I would have believed. But I did not think it'd be this bad. Certainly no one could have seen this whole thing that came with Alan Williams. That's a whole different subject. But this lack of pride, these questions about chemistry and all this stuff, that has nothing to do with what happened with Alan Williams. That stuff was already festering. And I don't know. It's just, I hate to say it, but this is, I always remember the Mark Trestman era for endless comments like the ones we heard on Friday, like the ones that were in Ian Rappaport's story this morning. Everything's fine, right? Like the energy's great. Like we had a great week of practice.
Oh, I was just about to repeat that. Yes.
We had a great week. Everyone was great. Everyone had a great week of practice. And then they take the field Sunday, and there was literally no proof of that. And that's the type of stuff. Like, I'll just warn the Bears. I know Matt Eberflus wasn't here for that. Your fans are smarter, man. They've lived through this. It's one thing for us because we covered it, but these fans that are going to be on your flight home coming from Kansas City that spent all this money, man, they're smarter than that. They've been through this. They know how to smell out BS. And we're in week 3 and this is already happening. That's the stuff that's just kind of blowing my mind right now.
I would say the same thing applies to the Fields conversation in his comments about coaching. You and I have heard that before. We've lived through the Mark Trestman. Partially true. The Mark Trestman, Aaron Kromer, Jay Cutler scenario. We've seen Jay Cutler get benched for Jimmy Clausen.
Oh, God.
We've seen Matt Nagy bench Mitch Trubisky for Nick Foles, like waiting for his opportunity to bench him, and then having to go back to him because his offense isn't working. We've seen this in various ways, various similar ways play out for this team.
But doesn't it seem like that's kind of impossible right now? Because that's the next thing. That's what happens when the coach is like, shit, we score 3 points against the Broncos next week, I might be fired. like that's when those desperate moves happen. What are they going to do right now?
I don't know.
Fields for Peterman? I mean, everyone's going to say Tyson Bagent, but
what the hell?
Yeah. But the thing about this one that sucks is I don't know that it's. I don't know. On one side, it's almost like I wouldn't necessarily blame them if they did it, but this doesn't feel like it's all Fields' fault to the point that he should be benched.
Well, not yet.
It doesn't seem right.
I do think, and read Kevin Fishbane's column on this later. Like, there's a point of like almost no return, though, right? Like, eventually, you've seen enough. If this continues to play out this way for Justin Fields, which is kind of, even having this conversation right now is crazy to think about. Only 3 weeks into this season, but after all the success he had last year, like I know he's gonna go into that. Like the Lions are 1-6, he's gonna look for answers in that capacity. But I don't know, man. It doesn't look good right now.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Anything else come out of the locker room or those press conferences that you want to bring up? Because I haven't seen it all. You were in there. What was the mood like?
It was not good. It
doesn't sound like anybody went off though.
First quote I heard in the locker room was Cole Kmet, your colleague, Cole Kmet, say, "We got our ass kicked." First words I heard in the locker room.
Yeah.
There was a stunned feeling in there, I would say. You still have some young players trying to figure it out. Like, oh man, like some of these young players have never experienced anything like this, and you got the media sitting there. I think Fields, he actually had an interesting interaction with our friend Jason Leisure from the Sun Times. So be sure to look that up on YouTube whenever the Bears post that video. But
I'm sorry, who Fields did?
Fields did.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was in the press conference.
That was in the press conference afterwards.
What was it?
He didn't like the phrasing of Jason's question. It's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the type of stuff that happens when you reach this point. I'll have to check it out. There's a comment right there. Trestman was 13-19 as Bears head coach. Eberflus is already 3-17.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be on a 13-game losing streak. I'm sorry. You see, like the Cardinals.
You know
beat
how hard
Cowboys
that is?
today.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The Cardinals beat the Cowboys today.
Do you know how hard that is to have a 13-game losing streak in the NFL? I get at some point last year.
Detroit Lions crap.
Like they tried to be bad at some point last year, knowing where this was going and knowing what having a high draft pick could mean to retooling the roster. Like I understand that. But at the same point, you still have games like the Texans beating the Colts.
Yeah.
Where Lovie Smith gets his revenge. The NFL is full of bad football sometimes. We're going to have 2-0-3 teams playing next week.
Was it Rod Marinelli, the head coach of the 0-16 Lions?
He was.
Okay. I'm just saying. Someone brought up Hugh Jackson.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm just stating facts. I forgot for a second. I asked a question.
But that's true.
Yes, it's
very
true.
100% true.
It's a true thing. And then someone brought up Hugh Jackson's name in the. Okay. Up until like a week and a half ago, I would have said that Matt Eberflus and Hugh Jackson shouldn't be in the same sentence. But like at some point, your record's the record, right?
Yeah.
You lost 13 games in a row. It's one thing how last year ended. I get it. There were some signs of this late. Like I covered the game in Detroit last year on New Year's Day. That was a complete ass kicking too. It shouldn't have been. Fields was playing in that game and he played horribly. Dr. Dave asking, who is our special teams coordinator and can he coordinate all three?
Richard Hightower.
Yeah.
Your guy. I'm just on Twitter right now. I'm kind of mad because our guy Jared Payton was outside the Bears locker room And apparently he was in the right spot to capture Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift walking by together hand in hand.
Yeah, that's a loaf by you.
It's a big loaf for me.
So what's
I had to go up
funny
here
is
and write my column and get this podcast going, man.
we had a conversation on the CHGO pregame trying to predict who would get the video of Taylor Swift today. And we jokingly said that Jared Payton's the kind of guy that would somehow get his way into that suite. He knows everybody, right?
He does.
Like, he might get an invite. And so we predicted that it would be JP. Now, he didn't get it in the suite, but he did happen to be at the right place, right time, got the video of Travis Kelce leaving with Taylor Swift. And she said hi to him.
That's a win.
So your entire day could be different if you had Taylor Swift say hi to you. And
I missed my opportunity.
You had to write your big fancy column about this horrible football game.
And I missed my opportunity to have Taylor Swift say hi to me, huh?
Yeah. It's a bad job by you.
Yeah. I was low.
You had to come do this podcast.
Definitely media low.
Yeah.
What we can do is go cover the Super Bowl together, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We got to go say hi to Usher, I guess, because that was the big news. He's the halftime show.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. All right. That would require you to come cover a Super Bowl again. I would love to see that.
It's been a while.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I love Super Bowl week. As I always say, the Super Bowl is my Super Bowl. All right. Well, for now, why don't you get home safely? Why don't you get some good barbecue?
Thanks, man.
Say hi to Mark Potash for me.
They're actually like right behind us.
I know. I'm sure they're waiting for you. It's making me uncomfortable. So, anyway, appreciate it. Good. Everybody read Johns's stuff. The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. Check out HogeJahns.com for all of our merch. Find us on Twitter at Hoge Jahns. The voicemails should be outstanding. Kent, I've already had.
If you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture of this beautiful Arrowhead Stadium for y'all.
Go. It is a great stadium. Kent, I was already told that there's a special guest voicemail this week, so be on the lookout for that. Just sources have told me.
Ooh.
Voicemails will come Tuesday. We'll be back Tuesday, live at 8:30, as we've been doing. Coffee with Hoge Jahns. We got a lot to sort through in the next 36 hours until then, or whatever it is. Johns, safe trip home. We'll see you back here. For everyone else, we'll talk to you on Tuesday. Tomorrow should be fun. See you later.
See ya.